everyone.
Good morning and welcome to the Georgia Gang on this Sunday, August 2nd. GOP gubernatorial candidate Rick Jackson opens his wallet again with an $87 million ad blitz. Also, during a campaign stop for Senate, Congressman Mike Collins tries to talk health care, but reporters want to talk about his controversial son-in-law. And hundreds of furious residents want to know how a $20 billion data center project landed in their community without them ever knowing about it. Melita, Phil, Theron, and Brian are all here. The debate and discussion begin right now.
From the Fox 5 studios, the Georgia Gang starts now.
Republican gubernatorial nominee Rick Jackson is reaching into his own fortune again, committing $87 million to a fall ad campaign aimed squarely at defining Democrat Keisha Lance Bottoms before she can try and define herself. Jackson's campaign says internal polling shows voters have largely forgotten the crime spikes Atlanta saw during Bottoms' time as mayor, and they intend to remind them while also introducing Jackson's own rags to riches story. Brian, full disclosure for our viewers, you are working with the Jackson campaign the cycle. Is spending this big this early the right call? Because usually we see campaigns really heat up after Labor Day.
Georgia is tight. And I think both campaigns, in both parties, because it's up and down the ballot, need to know this is a fight to the death in November. It's going to be really close. You know, the Jackson campaign said all along that these polls coming out that showing it within 2 or 3 points, oftentimes with Keisha Lance Bottoms in the lead, are probably an accurate snapshot of where we are in the state during the summer. Now, the Jackson campaign's mission is to make sure that that's not where we are in the fall. And this is where it begins with this ad campaign. And by the time this show airs on Sunday, Georgians will be seeing over and over again an ad that shows within weeks of taking office, Keisha Lance Bottoms' husband took a taxpayer-funded trip to the Super Bowl, $11,000 in limos and taxis done in her first few months of office. So beginning to show the ethics issues that she had in office and beginning to define her term as mayor. And yes, people have forgotten how bad it was. I think this ad that you're going to start seeing this weekend is just the first step toward reminding Georgians of how upset they were with her leadership during her tenure as mayor.
Theron, what about this multi-million-dollar reminder?
Yeah, look, no one is shocked that a billionaire who put in over $100 million of his money in the primary would put $87 million in the general. I mean, you know, people watch this show because they want us to talk about kind of our experience in doing things. And so I think that the Bottoms campaign, everyone expected him to put in a great deal of money. Now, what's interesting is that he's putting the money in the campaign very early on, Laura, and something you said, you know, usually you wait until after Labor Day. If you're a Republican in the state, you don't really attack a Democrat this early. And then you listen to what B-Rob just said, this race is very tight. It's going to be very tight. It's going to be very close. And right now, Keisha Lance Bottoms is winning the race based on the current cumulative polling that we're seeing. Now, the one thing about the ad that B-Rob just sort of utilized this program to break news on is that, yeah, the ad is out. But the one thing that you're going to see the Bottoms campaign say is that she's the one that actually told the public, told City Hall, like, hey, my husband accidentally was booked on a ticket. Let's reimburse the city. All right, immediately happened. But Laura, I also think that we're going to play clips on this campaign for back when you were doing this program about how Keisha Lance Bottoms came in and instilled a huge amount of transparency, right? Went to a checkbook, disclosed all of the transactions that were online, came in and upset a lot of city council members about how she was like, no, we're going to disclose everything. So the one thing that I want our viewers to know is that she was the one that corrected it. And then the last thing I would say is that, you know, it just makes me chuckle that a billionaire is using his first ad to come out talking about somebody taking jets and limos and flying around and going around the state, Melita, when basically that's
on
what
the taxpayer dime.
But here's the thing, the money was paid back. See, that's the thing that the ad leaves out. And she flagged it, all right? She said, oh, my God, like, they booked it the wrong way. Let's alert the folks.
After it was exposed.
No, before it was exposed. Yeah, before it was exposed, guys. And see, that's what if we're gonna call balls and strikes, let's just have our facts together.
All right, well, Phil, Bottoms, for her part, is out making her own case to voters. She kicked off a healthcare tour in Statesboro Thursday, hosting a roundtable on rural hospital access and telling attendees that she'd move immediately to expand Medicaid if elected. Now, Bottoms says the feedback will shape her policy policy agenda. Is this the kind of retail campaigning that can close the money gap with Jackson?
Well, retail campaigning is always good on either side, and it does help. And Theron calls Rick Jackson the billionaire. That's the adjective that they use. I'm going to call Bottoms the Martha's Vineyard resident, Keisha Lance Bottoms. Let's be clear about that. But I think health care is obviously a good issue. It needs to be discussed. I think Medicaid for all, we can debate this all day long, is far too expensive and would break the budget. Of course, that's what Democrats and liberals do, big spending. We've got to be careful of the budget. Democrats have always had a problem with that. But public safety is going to be the big issue, along with affordability, in this fall campaign. And I think that Republicans have always excelled on public safety. Bottoms is not liked in the law enforcement community, especially for what happened in 2020 when Atlanta burned. Hundreds of millions of dollars of businesses were destroyed. The police were handcuffed, and that's all going to be hammered away at Keisha Lance Bottoms.
Melita.
At the time you talk about in 2020, there were problems all over the nation. Atlanta was not alone in that. But the thing that we have to remember is that billionaire Rick Jackson does understand the healthcare industry in a way which helped him make billions. Keisha Lance Bottoms is on the ground talking to average people, average voters, about how the healthcare crisis impacts them and their household pocketbooks. Rick Jackson has rounding errors that for his billionaire balance sheet that exceed what Georgia families face in healthcare costs. So I think that Keisha Lance Bottoms is playing well on the campaign circuit. And what we're going to see, I think, in the fall is whether there's a point of diminishing returns on these big ad buys and whether continuing to try to buy the governor's mansion keeps the attention of the average voter.
Let me ask you on another issue. A South Fulton restaurant owner, here we go again, right, found himself caught in the middle of it all. Marcus Saber, owner of the original Big Daddy's, is facing boycott calls online after Rick Jackson stopped by for a visit and a photo, even though Saber says it wasn't an endorsement. And he's also pictured with Bottoms from years back. So Melita, back to you. What are candidates to do if they want to reach out to voters beyond their base?
Well, I think it's very unfortunate that we have these boycott calls. Part of the civil rights movement was to open up restaurants and businesses to serving people of both races. And now that we have black-owned restaurants and other businesses that politicians wish to meet voters in, it shouldn't mandate that certain people call for a boycott just because they opened those doors. So I think this call for a boycott is a double-edged sword for candidates.
You know, we were just talking about Keisha Lance Bottoms' tour through South Georgia, talking about health care. You know, one thing that hasn't happened is people saying, how dare those health care companies and those hospitals, those providers allow this Democrat to come here and talk. We're not going to any of these hospitals anymore. We're not going to do any business with y'all. And what if there was a racial component to it as well, which so much of this boycott stuff does? You know, it's talking about black-owned businesses and asserting a white guy coming in. And that is, it's not initially the forefront, but that is the underlying, there's this racial tension in it. It's wildly inappropriate. And thank you, Melita, for what you said. It is taking us backwards. How do you stop it? You stand up to the terrorist. And that's what these people are. You stand up to the terrorist. And this guy stood up and said, look, we talked about small business issues. We talked about how we help minority-owned businesses. All he did was come in and eat. And I took a picture with him. That's not an endorsement. So it's absolutely crazy. And I'll say Rick Jackson was going to that restaurant after going to a black church on Sunday morning with Creflo Dollar's church. So this is not a one-off. This is not a photo op. This is him campaigning for people whose votes are up for grabs. And what this is about is Democrats do not want Republicans competing for voters that they take for granted.
Theron
has to have
it. Come on now. I mean, you would have inject it if it was me or Melita. All right, let me just set the record straight. Number one, and Melita did not say that. Melita actually, I'm going to put words in her mouth because they're hijacking and boycott, but people can say what they want to say on comments. B-Rob, you got to be factual here. Keisha Lance Bottoms has never called for a boycott. So let me look into the TV here. All right, she's never called for a boycott of any of these restaurants, number one. Number two, it's manufactured chaos by the Rick Jackson campaign. You really want to know about Rick Jackson going to all these new black restaurants now because he hasn't gone to them before. He's doing it because he's running for governor and he's going there. But here's the thing that I want to report. On this rural healthcare tour, which Keisha Lance Bottoms is getting record turnout, and I hope it was in the clip. I didn't see the clip. And she's going in white restaurants, all right? She's going in black restaurants. She's going all across rural Georgia, and people are accepting her. So these are people who are going on social media saying things about the restaurant. The Keisha Lance Bottoms campaign has never, ever said they want to boycott. Now, as far as this owner not getting an endorsement, you know who the person is actually causing more harm to this owner? Is Rick Jackson really doesn't have to post a photo. You really don't. You can go to a restaurant, have a conversation, eat, and just leave it there. And so when he posts the photo, and then he gets the response from the people, not the campaign, then they want to blame it on Democrats. That is the truth about what's going on here.
10 seconds.
Well, that was quite a spin, but I've known Rick Jackson for years, and he is in corporate events. He's gone across all political and color lines, and in terms of how he reacts with people. I'm glad you said what you said, because anybody ought to be able to walk into any restaurant and eat and have a photo. And why don't you just flatly say that? You're not saying that. You're defending Bottoms. Bottoms was divisive. She was divisive on that.
No, but the Bottoms folks had never said boycott, and they never said that Rick Jackson go.
You saw her social media.
She said they had it coming. That's what she said.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to, real quick, Melita, and I got to leave it there.
Both sides are using divert attention, divide as a tactic.
How shocking.
I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully we can all go to whatever restaurant we want. All right,
Absolutely.
coming up.
And I'll take you there.
All right, please. Mike Collins tries to talk healthcare policy, but the questions keep coming back to his son-in-law.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Email them at georgiagang@foxtv.com.
Republican Senate nominee Mike Collins tried to roll out a health care agenda outside a Monroe County hospital Thursday, but nearly every question from reporters and trackers turned to his son-in-law, David Allen Shear's white nationalist and anti-Semitic social media posts. Collins insisted he's already addressed the issue and cut the news conference short after about 8 minutes as Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff kept the story alive with his own news conferences. Theron, to you on this. Can Collins keep this from following him through November?
Well, last week, our viewers heard me ask Phil a question. I think I asked Brian too, and that was, where's Mike Collins, right? We've been asking for weeks, where has he been? We haven't seen him make similar campaign styles of this nation. He missed a Trump rally because he had to be in Washington, D.C. for a vote. That is what they told the public. Now, when he shows up and he has a press conference, and yes, he did talk about a lot of different things, but Lori, when pressed on this question again, he refused to go in details about why it is that he has avoided this question. He said, I've addressed it before, but he did not take an advantage of an opportunity, because Phil and Brian have both said last week that he's got to answer this very tough question. And what Jon Ossoff campaign is doing is that, okay, we know that you know him, it's your son-in-law, we know you're aware of the comments, but what are you going to do to make sure that doesn't happen again? And are you really distancing yourself from it? And to say that I haven't made anti-Semitic comments in the past, I actually went through social media a few years ago, and he has actually made some very concerning comments in the past. So this is not the first time that we've heard his campaign while he was in office, and now a person that is closely aligned with the campaign connecting him to these comments. And so I think, honestly, Laura, I think Mike Collins missed a key opportunity because we saw him, but now the storyline is him walking away from a press conference while he's getting asked questions from reporters about something that he refuses to give detailed answers to.
Phil.
Well, the answer is he has given detailed answers. Sadly, the liberal media allies of Ossoff are not reporting it. I spoke with the congressman on the phone just last night. He said, I have said this repeatedly. If you do an internet search, you can see where Collins has specifically said, I've been a supporter of Israel. All of my votes prove that. I oppose anti-Semitism. I oppose racism. And Ossoff is calling him names, calling him an extremist and a racist and all this kind of nonsense. And I do think that Mike Collins ought to go on camera and repeat it. But the fact that he was working, as you well know, that's what members of Congress do. He couldn't make the Trump rally. That's a silly comment that where is he? He just was in Sandy Springs on Friday meeting with Jewish leaders trying to rebut this media narrative. And I think you talk about retail politics, he's doing that. So I think Mike Collins is going to be fine. Let's talk about health care. He's got a good thing. I don't mind him stopping the news conference when the liberal reporters tried to ruin it.
It wasn't reporters. It was trackers.
All right. Well, there's
Trackers.
also movement in the ethics case tied to Collins. His former chief of staff, Brandon Phillips, is no longer under House Ethics Committee jurisdiction now that he's left the office. But the underlying investigation into Collins himself is still open. Melita, with Collins' term in the House ending in January, does this investigation ever actually catch up to him?
I figure it probably won't, but I really thought Ossoff had a good phrase when he called Collins' refusal to answer reporters' questions the sad spectacle of a crumbling man. But yes, I think they'll slow walk the ethics probe and let him float, and since he's so behind in the polls, he may never answer to this ethics charge.
Brian?
Look, this is an unfair cloud hanging over him. And look, these investigations, nothing to do with Mike Collins, often last more than 2 years. So this is fairly common. This is just the timeline in the House.
Well, if it's an unfair cloud, why doesn't he ask his Republican colleagues to clear him?
I would be
He says
thrilled.
he's innocent.
I would be thrilled to see
That's
him
enough.
release the facts about whatever the charges are and just to get it done. My concern from a strategic level is having that cloud hang over him allows Ossoff to just say anything, to speculate on what it is, and Mike Collins is left, not being able to talk about an ongoing investigation. So I would rather them just go ahead and put out the facts there. But yes, it's highly unlikely that this is ever going to come to fruition with the House because he's either going to be in the Senate or in the private sector in January. Those are the two options, but we know he's not going to be in the House.
All right. Well, meanwhile, Georgia Democrats are unveiling their biggest coordinated campaign operation yet. 30 field offices and more than 100 staffers set to be in place by early August, built around the Ossoff and Bottoms campaigns. Melita, talk about this playbook.
Well, it's the largest ground game the Democrats have ever unveiled this early. They're working very closely with all the down-ballot candidates, and I know this because I speak to some of the 78 down-ballot women Win-List has endorsed, and they are all very impressed by the coordinated efforts and how the top-of-the-ballot candidates and canvassers are working with the down-ballot candidates to improve the messaging for everyone and to make sure that voters know about all the Democrats on the ticket so that they will not only cast their ballots at the top of the ticket, but they'll look all the way down and vote for legislative seats, the Senate and the House.
Phil, are we seeing something similar on the GOP side?
Yes, you are. In fact, there was a recent change with the campaign finance and laws, too, with PACs can now coordinate with the state parties, and that's going to be another factor. It actually strengthens state parties in Georgia and the 50 states. Greater Georgia, Kelly Loeffler's group that was founded by her, and Ralph Reed's Faith and Freedom. You have the PACs on both sides. I think, Brian, you're right. This is going to be the mother of all U.S. Senate races in the United States. And also, the news was for Mike Collins, you say that he's behind in the polls. I think it's way early, of course. But John Thune, the Senate GOP leader, just committed $60 million to the Collins campaign.
All right, Theron, quickly.
Well, real quick, I didn't get a chance to in the last segment. I don't want Keisha Lance Bottoms to be depicted that she's on the defense. She's actually on the offense. She's up with an ad right now. But also, real quick, Lori, in my 20-plus years of doing campaigns in Georgia, to Melita's point, this is the largest and earliest field office investment from the Democratic Party and the coordinated campaign. So that is very, very good, because I think that this race is going to be won on the ground, not on TV.
All right. Coming up, Georgia lands 3 huge data center deals, and nearly 1,000 angry residents show up to confront OpenAI.
When Keisha Lance Bottoms got elected, she said,
"We must be good stewards of your tax dollars."
Just 30 days later,
taxpayers covered the cost of a first-class plane ticket for Mayor Bottoms' husband to fly to the Super Bowl.
worse.
$11,000 in luxury chauffeured car service tabs in just her first 5 months in office.
If Mayor Bottoms wants her legacy to be we're too greedy to care, then they're off to a great start.
Keisha Lance Bottoms, she's out for herself, not Georgia.
21.
For higher taxes.
Join the discussion on the Georgia Gang Facebook page and watch past episodes on the Georgia Gang YouTube channel.
OpenAI's $20 billion Effingham County project made national headlines, but the same day, developers also filed plans for a $13 billion campus in Clayton County and a $1 billion expansion of Google's LaGrange facility. Nearly 1,000 Effingham County residents packed a meeting to confront OpenAI and county officials, angry that the deal was negotiated for months before they ever got a say. Brian, a $20 billion project and residents never got a say until the deal is done?
That's not uncommon. You know, let's think of the most famous one of those examples here in Metro Atlanta over the last generation, the Battery. You know who hated it when it was being done? Everybody in Cobb County. They threw the genius, forward-looking, visionary leader who did that out on the streets. And guess what? Guess who loves the Battery? Cobb County people. Everybody loves the Battery. You talk to anybody in Cobb County, want to go to lunch, they want to go to the Battery.
All right, well, the Battery is different than a data center.
But where it's the same is pouring revenue into Cobb County, where the message was this was going to cost us, it was going to cost taxpayers. No, it's been a boon to taxpayers up there, and this will too. Economic development projects require some degree of confidentiality when they're moving forward. These big companies, and some maybe mid-sized companies, they need to protect their corporate brands. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that they've got to take care of. This is part of it. This is going to be a revolutionary investment in this community. This is going to be jobs with over 6-figure jobs, over lots of them, $20 billion. They should be able to eliminate property taxes and maybe even sales taxes in that county with this kind of revenue coming in.
Theron, if these are such great deals and so great for the communities, why aren't they transparent about it? I mean, you and I have talked about the fact that these companies need a PR plan on data centers, and they don't have one. They don't feel like they need one.
Well, I don't think that part is necessarily true now. Back when we started talking about it months ago, absolutely. I think the data centers that I've talked to, the coalitions of folks, they realize that they definitely need more PR. A lot of these elected officials, they need air cover, so to speak. Like if you go in here and you even entertain, to be Rob's point, that there's a development coming to your district, you got to be able to have like facts out there about what's happening. I am just shocked. And I'm not questioning my good friends in Effingham County. I know people that live there when I represented John Barrow's district as a district director. Phil, you remember that. Yeah. And this is a very tight-knit group of people. I just don't believe, and I could be proven wrong, that there was a massive development of this magnitude, knowing what the data center people know, that you got to get the community's input. But I agree with B-Rob, is that you got to give these local economic development authorities a little grace here, because if you say it too soon, there's going to be pushback, right? But then you also want to protect the integrity and the company. However, I was just, when this came out, Lori, I mean, we think like, wow, finally someone got it right. Like somebody, then now later when we're finding that there's residents having complaints about it. So I do believe that there will still be communication. There still should be input from the community, but I agree that this is going to bring a lot of needed revenue to this area.
Real quick, because I want to move on. I got one really big issue.
Let me give you a tale of two counties. Columbia County did it right. The Development Authority of the Chamber of Commerce, they held hearings. They said it's an underpopulated area. The location is very important. Effingham County, the location's terrible. It's in the middle of a residential area. You can still keep secrets, corporate secrets, but still tell the people a data center's coming. Nothing wrong with that.
All right, one more big issue that I want to get to. A Barrow County judge closed out a landmark case Thursday, sentencing Cullen Gray, the father of Appalachia High School shooter Colt Gray, to 15 years in prison for giving his son the rifle used in the 2024 attack that killed 4 people. Colt Gray was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Judge Nicholas Prim told Cullen Gray he failed as a parent by not getting his son help despite clear warning signs. Melita, what does this case mean for how Georgia holds parents accountable going forward?
Well, it's not just Georgia, it's the entire nation, because he's the first parent of a school shooter to be convicted in connection with the same crime. And so the fact that a Georgia jury found him guilty and that a judge has now stiffly sentenced him puts parents on notice all over the nation, and especially in Georgia, that you need to be accountable for the safety of the guns in your home. You maybe need to be accountable for the guns you purchase for your children. And maybe it'll make some people take a second look at the behavior of their teenagers when their teenagers obviously, clearly need help, as this young man did.
Brian?
It is a tragedy compounding on a tragedy. When you look at the facts, the first thing you think, God, this is such a tough standard to put on a parent. But then when you dig in and you see that this kid had pictures of school shooters up on his wall, that he spent his time fantasizing and glorifying those who have murdered innocents, and then to turn around and give that kid an automatic weapon at Christmas, it is the height of irresponsibility and negligence. And as much as I want to say, like, you didn't pull the trigger, if that was my baby that got shot, I would want that guy to rot in prison for his irresponsibility.
All right, we'll leave it there, folks. Coming up, winners and losers. Stay tuned.
Georgia Furniture Mart in North.
Time now for the week's winners and losers.
All right, Melita, we'll start with you.
Marcy Scott advances to a runoff with former Gwinnett School Board Chair Everton Blair for her late father's seat in Congress. So they're winners, and the voters need to get out and vote. Only 2% of the people eligible to vote in that district voted for the special election. The runoff is August 25th.
Good reminder. All right, Phil.
Well, legendary developer and civic leader John A. Williams, who passed away 8 years ago, was honored with a bridge being named there in Cobb County, and I thought it was very fitting because he did so much for the county and so much. He was the actual founder and inventor of the community improvement districts, which we have around here. And then there was another, this was a road naming up on Old Milton Highway in Alpharetta. It was the U.S. Treasurer, former state senator Brandon Beach, got the road named after him because he was president of the Chamber of Commerce, did a lot for infrastructure when he was Transportation Committee chairman, so that was a winner.
All right, Theron.
Our first winner is going to be Mayor Andre Dickens. The city of Atlanta hosted the Democratic Mayors Association this week. We had a lot of mayors from all over the country, and he did a wonderful job there. Also, I want to make John Ossoff a winner. His race was just shifted from a lean Democrat to likely Democratic state by the University of Virginia Center for Politics. And I also want to make Andrew Jones from the Atlanta Braves a winner. He was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And also Keisha Lance Bottoms for a successful healthcare tour that's going on right now all throughout Southeast Georgia. Massive turnout about people wanting to know more about rural health care and what's the solution.
All right, Brian.
Well, for that, thank you for reminding me of that. My winners are the Braves for helping me get a bobblehead for the Andrew Jones Hall of Fame bobblehead. Yes, it was fantastic. It was there Thursday night. It was great. My winner is the Okefenokee Swamp, which was added to as a World Heritage Site, and we are hopeful this will be a tourism boon for that part of the state. It's one that's had a struggling economy for a long time. This could bring some global interest to the natural beauty that we have down here. And my loser are the 13th Congressional District taxpayers paying for a dumb runoff for an election that means nothing between here and January for a special.
You are fired up. All right, everybody, make it a great week. See you.
The Rooms to Go.